Hello, my friends. Today we're talking to Alex.
My name is Alex Taylor. I am firstly a mum of four, but also the director of Girls Love Fit and Kids Love Fit. So we are a fitness business based in Salisbury, Wiltshire, and we have been running since 2010. That feels like a long time ago. So yeah,
That's 15 years, Alex. Thank you so
wow,
much for the time. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for coming on. And I mean, it would be wrong of me not to ask, I guess, the elephant question when it comes to fitness industry, because it is. Would you say it's heavy competitive? Like, do you feel like there's a lot of other people who can do what you do?
you know what? I've been in the fitness industry now. Holy moly! A, a lot of years, a lot of years. And I always believe that positive will come out of any situation. And if I go way back to when I first started in the industry, it was super competitive and instructors were super competitive. And it kind of, I started out working in health clubs. So even as amazing as the members were, even though they were amazing, there was always this kind of vibe of like, oh, you go to such and such's class, so I can't go to such and such's class because they must be in competition. And I feel like that was where Girls Love Fit was born, was that I wanted to create a team out of pure positivity where each instructor could visit each other's classes and each person who took part in the classes could visit each other's classes without feeling like you had this like deep loyalty that meant that you couldn't actually explore different areas. So although I would say the overall answer would be yes, it's a very competitive industry, I feel like the vibe that we've created at Girls Love Fit means that that's just not really a thing. And then when it comes to outside of Girls Love Fit, I feel like in Salisbury, we're so lucky to have such incredible fitness professionals in this area. And I feel like there's always enough business for everyone. And if you stay in your lane and you're doing what you do out of pure passion and drive and skill set, then I'm a hype girl. I'm somebody that's like, high five to you for doing your thing. That's awesome. And high five to me for doing my thing. And you know what? There's always going to be crossovers. But I have so many Pilates instructors, functional fitness trainers, personal trainers who come to my classes and my instructors' classes, and we welcome them, because we can all learn from each other as well. And I feel like that is probably one of the biggest USPs in Girls Are Fair is that we do have such a positive vibe. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am allowed to swear, aren't I?
Yeah, of course.
Don't get me wrong, like shit hits the fan and like there's negative stuff that goes down in life generally, but it's all about the togetherness and being able to support each other through those things. So the answer is yes, it's a very competitive industry, but it only has to be a negative aspect if you let it be. So like I've always, everything that I do very much comes from a place of what I feel is right for us, and it's always very organic from where it begins. And if ever I've gone outside of that and done something because I think I should, so the term like you should all over yourself, if you do it because you should and not because actually that's the right thing for either your business model or your journey, those are the things that generally don't do well, and they always have like a bit of like a icky feeling about them.
Yeah.
So I feel like we don't fall into like your regular business model in the fitness world. But everything that we have done has worked for us. Are you just gonna do this? Okay, hang on. There we
Yeah,
go.
no, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of. I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about mindset, but like my follow-on question to that is it common in your industry to have that collaborative mindset? Because I know there's kind of two sectors of the creative world that I live in that there's quite a lot of people who's like, you're only going to take work from me. Why would I work with you? Why would I collaborate with you, etc. But also, like, I've always been of the mind of like, you'll attract the clients that make sense for you, regardless. So,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
you should just focus on like, you know, I've been quite open with the fact that there's other people who can do video, there's other people who can do marketing, there's other people who can, etc., in the city, but also a little bit further afield. But they're not going to do it as I'm going to do it in the same way I'm not going to do it as they're going to do it. So it's not like necessarily the clients that would want me to do it for them
Yeah.
are going to want them and vice versa. So I think it's that abundance mindset. I mean, just to reiterate the question, is that common in your industry, or do you think you're an outcropper in like the abundance or the collaboration mindset rather than just seeing everyone as a tangible competitor? I've kind of got to trip you up in some ways, and some,
Yeah, I love a collaboration. I love a collab. I love like getting good energy together, and I feel like amazing things can happen. Like that's where Girls Are Fit originated from. You know, when I started Girls Are Fit, I started with Charlotte. We were business partners at the very, very beginning, and that came from pure energy and like our drive and our passion to build something from scratch. And so, you know, I have zero regrets, but there has always been lessons along the way where you have either collaborated or worked with people that you have later found out that they've kind of, you know, ultimately tried to rip you off. But my my opinion on that generally is that they're only going to get so far with ripping off like a little bit of what you have, because you are doing what you do based on what you can give, and you have to have that confidence in yourself that like attracts like. You know, it is the secret. Like attracts like. You will attract the right people. But equally, it's like if I have a PT client come to me and go, I really want to work with you because these are what my goals are, and I've heard that you're really great, but I kind of get this slightly I'm not sure this is the right fit for you or for me. You know, I will go out of my way, but then it has to work both ways, you know. And in all aspects, your client's success is a direct reflection. Your success, sorry, is a direct. It works both ways, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you don't. You've got to have your wits about you, but equally, if I think back to the first time that Charlotte and I were really stung, and we were really stung by an instructor that worked with us, we kind of both kind of clung into each other and went, that's it, we're never doing this again, we're never letting anyone in. And then we kind of went, you know, we were a bit burned, we were a bit naive to the situation, and we saw the best and got stung. But if we'd have closed down the doors at that point, we would never have been able to grow into the incredible version of both of ourselves that we are now. And Girls Are Fit was kind of the vessel that got us to that point. So it's it's good to learn from those experiences, but to then be able to still move forward without completely closing down. So I think there's always a place for collaboration. But for me, it's all about just going with your gut feeling on everything, and whether that's going to be the right fit for you. And also being okay to say, actually, that's not going to work for us, and that's okay. Like I don't, and you know, I feel very grateful. Like I said, there's amazing fitness professionals in our area that generally, if it's not something that we can provide you with, I won't try and pretend that we can and go, oh, but we just want to, you know, get the clients in. I'll go, actually, this person working over here is better suited to your needs and your goals and your location or your budget or whatever it may be, you know?
yeah. No, absolutely. I completely agree, and I think I don't know. Maybe it's just a unique mindset to what we both share, right? But I think for me, I've always been of kind of I'm going to focus on me, and there's loads of people I could quote, so I won't. But the crux of the quotes there would be like, just focus on you and your business. It's not really anything to do with you, how well someone else's business or bad someone else's business is doing. And actually, you know, there's a lot of talk you could say online sometimes about how do you build your own brand, how do you build your own business, how do you, and we're going to go on to growth in a minute, but I think, you know, there is a sector of people who will want to do it by tearing other people down
100%.
rather than just focus on building their tower, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just like when you go online, you know, like it can be the most amazing place, but it can also be the most tragic place, you know, and you can't cling on to the negative things and let that pull you down when you when you know that what you're doing is for good, you know, like if you are intentionally going out there to tread on people's toes, or you go, oh, that looks like good what they're doing, I'm just going to try and rip that off but then put my own spin on it, then it's never going to go that far, you know. But I focus, like I said, on the positive feels and where energy feels good. And I think that naturally has allowed us to create a community and a network of people that are like us. And if it doesn't feel good, we won't put our energy there. And, you know, anything else outside of that, you just kind of got to let it go. I think you can naturally fall into looking at those streams of negativity, but it's just it's never going to gain you anything, you know.
Yeah.
It's good to know that those things are there, maybe to be aware that, you know, not be naive to it, but not let it affect you on your journey.
I mean, I think one of the challenges, right, that in your industry when you're looking to scale. I mean, you're at quite a significant scale now. And my next question was like around, did you always have the vision to grow it to the scale it is now, and or was it actually there's opportunities here to collaborate, there's opportunities to bring on other instructors to then scale the business that way? Did it evolve? Like, because I think some people find it very hard if they have a vision at the start of their business. So I know my vision was very, I want to build the largest media company in the world. I want to have a massive office, loads of staff, etc., etc. Until I started achieving that, and I was like, actually, this is just financial stress all the time. So does that
Yeah.
actually align with like
Yeah.
my own health and my own mental health and my own well-being as a whole, to be able to, even if I don't necessarily want to have a huge life outside the business because I love what I do, etc. But there is a level of life that you have to have, right? And I think having the compassion, having the understanding, having the belief in yourself to be able to change your dream, tweak it, adapt it as you find out more information, as you gain more understanding, as you become, but also your priorities might change as you get older as well, like etc. And
100%.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, just to throw that into a question, I mean, did you always have the goal to be at the size you're at now? And if so, could that change in 5, 10 years?
I mean, how long do you want that answer to be?
As long as you like.
So the reality is, for me personally, if we're talking about me outside of Girls Are Fit, I have always, like I said, like back to my teenage years, my work experience was at a gym, and I absolutely loved it. And I never knew what I wanted to do, but I just knew that I had a love and a passion that made me want to be there, irrelevant to money. And it was about the people. And, you know, at that point, working in the gym, I was working on something called the GP referral program. So that was when, at that point, GPs would refer people who had high blood pressure or, you know, health issues as a result of nutrition and lifestyle and exercise, or lack of exercise. So they'd come with that to us, and I would work with them one-on-one for 12 weeks. And then to see them progress over that 12 weeks, I was like, it just gave me something in my core that set me on fire. And I was like, yes, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. But also I was in full-time education. So then going to college, staying in sport, went to university, just knowing that something was going to come out. And just before I went to university, I decided that I was going to go into the RAF as a physical education officer, but I wanted to go in as an officer and therefore needed a degree. So therefore went and did my degree. So that became like my focus, was like, I'm going to the RAF, I'm a physical education officer. My career is set for me. I am good to go. I'm just going to get my degree under my belt and we are good. And then I met my future husband. Um, so I was temping in a gym and I met Nick, and I decided to put the process on hold to going into the RAF. I was like, I'm just going to hold back a little bit. Just let's see what happens. And then again, just like Girls Are Fit has evolved, everything has been very organic. So when you ask the question of like, has things, you know, was this what you had planned for? The simple answer is no. I was going to be in the RAF, but actually, I have always gone with my gut and what works for me in my life at this time, my passion, my drive. And if I've ever moved away from that, I just lose my head and I just go, oh no, I'm not enjoying this. And life's too short to not enjoy what you do every day. And so then I became a personal trainer. Nick and I got married. And then it wasn't until Charlotte and I got together. Sounds like we got together. Well, we kind of did, but we got together in a business aspect. So my eldest, sorry, was a year old, so she's nearly 16 now. So what we were doing at that point, yes, we did have the energy of, we are going to take over the group fitness world. We are about creating this community for women, all women everywhere, to come to our classes, and we're going to get instructors. And we won the business awards in 2011, so Salisbury Business Awards, and then we came third in the Wiltshire Business Awards, and so we won a bit of money basically from that, and we invested that money into, the first part of the money was put into our website, because originally, like, one of the girls that came to our classes put our website together, one of the girls that came to our classes put our branding together, so it was very much like community girl power group put together, and it was just working, and we just rolled with it. So we had like a baseline business plan, because I had a degree in business, so I was like, we need our strength pest analysis, we need all of those things. But ultimately we had this magic energy that was just working and making people want to come to our classes and do it. And we got to max capacity, and we're like, right, we need to bring someone else on with us. One of our really good friends who we totally trusted, and she's amazing, she actually lives in Canada now, she came on board with us. So she was doing spreading the Girls Love Fit love. And then, like I said, we won the business awards, did the website, then we won the Wiltshire, so we came third in the Wiltshire Awards, and invested that money into both Charlotte and I doing our children's qualifications in fitness, so that we could then move into the schools, because we were getting lots of people going, could you come and work in our school and do this and do that? So and then we even went down the franchising option, and we were looking at a pilot of Girls Love Fit Essex, because one of my best friends at the time lived in Essex, and the only way is Essex was like raging at that point. I was like, this is going to be amazing. And Charlotte and I went to this, it was at the, what's it called? What's that big expo place in London, like the big business expo place?
The Excel.
That's the one. And we were walking around and learning about franchising your business, and because there were lots of different aspects. We had Girls Love Fit, then we had Mums Love Fit, and we had Kids Love Fit evolving. And we were like, how can we brand this up and be, basically fall into the traditional business models? And we were just walking around, don't judge me on this, but we're just walking around being like business chatted up by middle-aged men, going, oh, you guys look fun, come work with us. And we were like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Like this, it's a bit like that song Victoria's Secret, and then you find out that the head of Victoria's Secret is this guy that is not the brand of Victoria's Secret, and then you kind of lose faith. And I was like, both Charlotte and I agreed that we were like, this doesn't feel right for us right now. So we started to like package up. We still did the pilot with Essex, and we had a couple of instructors. Then one of our girls moved to Essex as well, because her husband was in the army, and so she started running some classes, but then he got sent back this way. So you can kind of see that everything naturally happened with people that we could trust, and if it didn't feel right, we didn't do it. We started to package up some of our courses. So our Mums Are Fit course, which was a postnatal 6-week course, mums and babies. At that time, people weren't doing anything like that. We were both pre and postnatal qualified. So we started to package that up, and then we were approached by a company who wanted to buy it from us. And then again, I was like, oh, this just doesn't feel right. And, they were putting like some big numbers on the table, but we were both like, it just doesn't feel right. It felt like you were just going to lose control. And actually, everything we had done up until that point had been very authentic and very much about the people we knew and providing for those people. So we pulled back on that. But then we had another program that we put together called Nutrition, which was, so Charlotte at that time had started competing in pole fitness. And so then did we win some money? I can't remember, but we invested some money. Like that was kind of the biggest amount of money that we put into the online program. So we had professional videos made, and we actually went over to Vegas for the World Championships and presented a nutritional workshop So my second baby was only 4 months old, so he had to come with us because he was still on the boob. So he came with us. He was like the only baby in Vegas. You know that movie Hangover where like people were on stag do's with pretend dolls in a baby carrier, and there was me with an actual baby because no one takes a baby to Vegas. Not back then, anyway. I say back then. This was like 11 years ago. And they'd be like, "Oh my God, is that a real baby?" And I'm like, "Yes, it's a real baby." But it was so much fun. We had like an absolute blast, best time ever. And and then again we evolved from there. Like I then had another baby after that, and Charlotte was doing really well in the pole world, and the business was building. We had more and more instructors working for us, and she was going more pole way, and I was going more kids love fit way, and also juggling multiple children. Um, so it felt very organic for us at that point to go, okay, how can we separate things, keep the brands, but in order to work with how our lifestyles are changing. And so that was when we split the business. So that was back in 2014. So she became Charlotte Pole and Aerial Fitness, and I carried on with Kids Love Fit and Girls Love Fit. And it was very amicable, and it allowed us both to grow and allowed us both to really do what we needed to do, and not feel that either one of us was pulling or restricting in any way. And then from then, so that was back in 2014, Kids Love Fit then went crazy. So then my Kids Love Fit team began to build even more. I took over a studio in Old Sarum. So we had the studio, and then obviously lockdown hit. So lockdown was a major evolution of Girls Love Fit and Kids Love Fit. Because at that point, those kind of challenges, obviously everyone had their own challenges. For us, you know, ironically, one of the biggest challenges when you run a business for children's fitness is bloody Joe Wicks doing his free PE every day. Who's going to pay to do online fitness if you can get it free every day, you know? And then like Davina McCall, bless her, love her, but free fitness plans handed out every day. I was like, come on, there's us like fitness people trying to survive here who aren't getting, you know, grants and aren't getting any of that at all. Or so we, you know, that again had to be like a major, okay, if ever anyone is doing anything that makes me feel like, going back to what we were saying about being competitive in the industry, if anything ever makes me feel like, oh God, I should be doing this, or they're doing that, so I should do more of that, or I look at something, you know, social media for an example, and go, if that makes me feel that negative feeling, then I look into myself and go, right, I need to challenge myself more. If I'm finding myself not being the hype girl and not being like, oh my goodness, look at them, they're amazing, look what they're doing. If I'm not looking at it doing that, I go, okay, what am I not doing that's not allowing me to grow or allowing me to create or, you know, deliver what I do best. So, you know, Nick and I obviously sat down and went, okay, all the gyms are closed, the studio's been closed down, the world is in lockdown. What are we going to do? We've still got bills to pay, we've still got mouths to feed. We got to figure this out. What are we going to do? You know, so again, we evolved. So now, you know, so we've got a studio in the garden now, a purpose-built astro space. I then had another baby in lockdown. I'm done, by the way, with you know, four is absolutely done. But it, you know, if you were to say, was this your plan? No, but I have zero regrets, and everything that we do and have done has provided for us to live the life and to provide a life for our children. Don't get me wrong, you know, we don't live in a mansion, we're not millionaires, we're not like going off on private jets and holidays once a month or anything like that, but we do. I love everything that we have and that we do, and I'm proud of everything that we've grown. And you know, now we are ultimately a hybrid online business as well as in-person business with multiple services, from personal training to group training to online coaching to in-person training. You know, like all of those things has evolved as a result of what's going on in the world, and no one could have ever predicted that. And somehow we survive, and somehow we keep rolling, and somehow we keep evolving. But I think that ultimately comes down to the mindset of find a way and trust the process. Those are like my two mega mantras for life: is find a way. There's always an excuse, but there is always a way. And although, even if in that moment, you know, like, I was devastated when the studio closed down, and I mean, like, crying into my pillow at night, like that was my baby, you know, like that studio was just, I put everything I had said, I put into that studio. And you know, and it was an incredible space. But lockdown happened, and without like going into the nitty gritty, basically, like, the person who we were renting it from was handing it back, and a new landlord was coming on, but none of the paperwork had been officially signed, because it happened the week before lockdown happened. So it was like this weird grey area, and I just found out it from eyes and ears on the ground that it was going to get locked up, and that I just needed to get my kit out as quickly as possible. And I was like, oh my goodness, my studio. But you know, it was the best thing that ever happened. It was absolutely the best thing that ever happened. And you know, my clients stayed with us, our online people stayed with us. And I feel like, you know, when it comes to, if you can pass on any advice, it would be true to yourself, because you will always shine through, and your clients will see that, and they will stick with you. You know, that you have to have that confidence that they will stick with you, and they will come back. And you know, it's the energy lines again. Yeah. So did I answer that question? It was long-winded, wasn't it? Sorry about that.
You definitely did. I mean, there's, I think, so much there that I could pick apart, but you know, for me, I think that journey shows, like, some key takeaways there would be like, do something if it doesn't, like, so many people feel like, oh, it feels wrong, but they can't put their finger on why. And the psychology around that is just simply like your instincts related to your experiences in your mind, right? So your mind is actually the best supercomputer we'll ever have. And there's a large conversation around AI and whether it will actually be able to think better than us, etc., etc. But what I don't believe it will ever be able to do is be emotionally in tune to those experiences that were maybe negative for you.
Yeah.
And then how you, but also in that, you build resilience through doing that, right? Everything you were discussing related to the split of the business, even though it was a good split and a positive split, that's still going to be challenging from a logistics point of view, but also from a challenge of actually, okay, where do I go now? And also that tweaks, to an extent, the identity, especially if you created it with a business partner at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things I think so many people struggle to comprehend, like, why does this feel wrong, or have the confidence to say no to that client, or have a confidence to say no to that project, especially in the creative world where it can be very project led. And I think you have to ask yourself, in that nuanced case, do you need the money that project's offering you, and maybe it's not the best fit, and actually is there any deal breakers there? And if there isn't, and you need the money, then you should probably take the project, because being alive in business is going to allow you to then get better and then allow you to continue, rather than sitting on your morals and then going under, right? And or digging yourself a debt hole, or etc., etc., right? And I think a lot of it, I mean, to phrase the kind of a follow-on question to that, I mean, have you found that you always had resilience, or have you found that through the 15 years that you have been in business, as things have come at you, you've got more resilient, which in turn means, let's wind the clock forward to 10 years, actually, do you feel like there's not much that you can't handle? Like, you may not necessarily know the tangible solution to whatever it becomes, but you know, and you trust in yourself, and you have enough self-belief and self-love and self-care to be like, actually, well, I did X, Y, Z. I lived COVID. I lived this. I did this, so on. And actually, the business is still here, and actually, arguably, thriving better now because of the way the world's changed, and how, you know, the hands you were dealt, or the cards you were dealt. You know, I mean, just to reiterate a question, do you feel like you can, because there's always like micro things you can get better at in regards to how more resilient you feel, but do you feel with your current, I guess, business history that you've become, I don't want to use the term like impenetrable, or like it's impossible for you not to like feel it, but do you feel more prepared in whatever could happen in, say, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, economic downturn, etc.?
Oh, it's a good question. I think when it comes to, for instance, when I'm working with new instructors, right? So we in-house train our instructors and then provide them with the skill set that they need to deliver. And when we're looking at new instructors, I always say, like, you can teach the skill to anyone. You can't teach personality, right? And with personality comes the resilience and comes the drive and comes the passion, all of those things. If somebody naturally has that, then I can teach them all the Pilates, all the Zumba, all the fitness, all of that stuff, because I know they're just going to handle it. Um, for me, being that person, where has resilience come from? I mean,
In my
God,
in
I
my
think it's
view, it's
naturally, it's
just
kind of,
being alive, right? It's surviving COVID, it's
yeah,
surviving economic downturn. It's taking, for me at least, self accountability to when things aren't going well and how is it your fault. It's very easy to play the victim, so to speak, and
mm,
go, oh, the economy's hard, or there's more competitors now,
yeah.
or
See, I'm,
this
I'm,
and
I'm
this and
I'm
this and
never
this.
that person. If something's not going right, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to change it to make it work? And I feel like we've created so many avenues in Girls Are Fit and Kids Are Fit that we just tune our energy into another line more than, like small group PT is absolutely booming, and Zumba is barely a thing at the moment. Yet rewind pre-lockdown, Zumba was the class that was just absolutely booming. And when Zumba came out, I was like, I'm not doing that shit. No, no, no. I'm sorry. I went to university. I have trained in Pilates and functional fitness, and I have done all, and you're telling me that anyone can go and do a 2-day course and just get their own insurance and then go out there and deliver classes? Absolutely no way. Well, I ended up being teaching like 10 classes a week because that was the trend. And I actually turned out to be that, bless her, one of our instructors fractured her hip and I had to stand in for her. So I literally had to learn Zumba like that. And so I stood in for her and I was like, actually, I quite like this. Jumping and pumping and I was like, actually, I quite like it. And then Girls Who Fit Zumba was born, and we were teaching so many classes, but it has evolved again. And at the point that Zumba was going downhill, it did I go, oh my goodness, this is it, the business is going to be over? Never. That never crosses my mind, ever. Like, don't get me wrong, I am not an arrogant ass. Like, I am truly grateful every day that I get to do the things that I love. I genuinely, like, so thankful, so grateful. Everything I do works around my children. They're always going through different phases. I'm just coming out of the baby stage now, and there's no more babies ever in the Taylor household. And we're looking, and Bella's looking at colleges at the moment, my eldest, down to my youngest. So they're always moving into different phases and they always need different things. And I can be there for them. Like I said at the very beginning, my number one job is mum, that will always be my number one job. So I am grateful that everything I do in my business allows me to be there for them. And sometimes the top or the balance can, tip often, like if there's deadlines for things or there's a big project or whatever it may be, and I'm up till 2-3 o'clock in the morning writing it, that's fine. But I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is about the balance as well. But ultimately, I can manipulate my work to work around the family, and everything that we do is based on demand. So I am grateful that I'm able to do all of these things, but I never fall into thinking, oh my goodness, the business is going to be over, because people irrelevant to AI and irrelevant to all of the new bits of equipment that arrive in the world on a day-to-day basis, the new reformer, the new high rocks, the new CrossFit, the new thing that hangs from your ceiling that turns you upside, whatever it is, everyone needs fitness and everyone needs support and guidance. And it's not just, I say fitness, exercise. Everyone needs to move their body. But what we do isn't just based on learning how to do a squat and a lunge. Like, we also tap into nutrition and lifestyle and positive mindset and, holistic management of your life and being a support system. Like, my small group PT classes, I honestly feel like I just go and hang out with my mates and help them to work out each session. And it's like a therapy session for all of us, and sometimes me, because you know, those girls will open up to each other, support each other, get a good sweat on as well, get their workout in, and then go off into the world and feeling a little bit lighter, you know? So
Mm.
there will always be a need for that in the world. And going back to your question about like wanting to take over the fitness world, or, you know, make it this big scale, like if I rewind back to when Charlotte and I first got into the business, we had that like fire and drive in our guts to take on the world, which got us to that point of, are we going to franchise? And then looking at things a bit differently and looking at how, and now I'm at a point in my life where I go, I love what I do. It works for my children, but I'm not going to be on my deathbed wishing that I made another pound, or that I delivered another class, or that, you know?
Yeah.
So you've got to always reflect and go, what's working for me, what's not working for me, and what is working generally and what's not working, and then tap your energy into those things. Like I said, Zumba is, it's not a big thing for us. It might be a big thing for other people. Good for them. Again, hype girl over here, good for you. That's not what our stream of clients is asking for right now. Our stream of classes, clients are more Pilates and mums and babies and small group PT and personal training, and people being able to work with us from afar, i.e. online. So we have clients in France and we have clients in Canada, and working with the Canadian netball team, and being able to, you know, branch out in those ways, which you can't necessarily predict, but you've got to see the opportunities, and you've got to believe and trust in that process and find a way if something else isn't working.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, and I think it's about, and you know, reaching back into the when we discussed it briefly, I think it's about having that candor and that care for yourself, and actually
Mm.
being like, yeah, it's okay if my vision of this business, my vision of its whether that's tangibly staff, offices, service, etc., or actually just what you want from it, right?
Mm.
And being in that position, I mean, obviously you're a very skilled businesswoman. You know what you're doing with marketing. I mean, for those people who are maybe listening to this who are struggling with demand, they're struggling to read what's the market is, what isn't the market. I mean, have you found that there's specific things that are really good when it comes to marketing in regards to the tactics of marketing? Because the fundamentals of marketing is understanding your brand, understanding what you want, who you serve. But then, like, tactically, how does someone then, in your opinion, go about actually getting that word out and actually building that momentum, building that understanding, building that client base, however you want to
Mm.
phrase it? You know, what have you found in your experience is the most effective or the best way?
So that makes me think like right back to the beginning of Girls Are Fit. And obviously those strategies will be different now because the world has evolved. But I'm very grateful that I don't, it sounds arrogant to say you don't need to do those things so much anymore. But, you know, when Charlotte and I first started out, we plodded the streets and posted the leaflets and were putting it out on social media and attending every networking event and getting our faces seen, and you know, sweaty selfie after every workout, putting everything on social media and building a client base and sending emails every week and doing all of those things. And admittedly, we don't do a lot of that now, but I don't know if that's because we have built a brand that means that we have a consistent, you know, trickle that is enough for what we're doing, or whether it's just that actually, you know, we spent so much money on posters, leaflets, all of that stuff at the very beginning. Not, I don't remember the last time I did a leaflet for something, because actually social media is the power. Social
Mm.
media has the power for us. That might not be, I'm talking from the industry that we're working in. And also the consideration is your location, because having other fitness friends in other areas and the things that they might do, it doesn't feel like we need to do that. So again, like, okay, that person's doing it, but I don't necessarily need to do it. Oh, hang on, that's my front door. Hang on, 2 seconds. No worries, I can take it. No problem. That's okay. Here's Alex. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry.
Where were we?
We're talking about social media. No, no, I completely agree. I mean, my next question was, I guess, in some ways, is that just a reaction? Is that just a point of view of a shift to what is now working, quote unquote? And also, is that more of a mature business point of view, right?
Maybe.
I think for me, when we both started, you need to do those hours in the networking. You need
Oh,
to do those hours
yeah.
on the street. You need to
Yeah.
do those hours doing the free events, what I would just call eating shit, right? You have to do those things because no one knows you. When you are more established, doesn't mean you get complacent. It means you understand where you are in transactional reality, right?
Yeah.
Like my prices when I started 8 years ago, very different to my prices now, right?
Yeah.
That's a supply and demand thing. That's a skill thing. That's a gear thing. That's an understanding thing. That's also the value I can add to a client is completely different, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with any business. And I think people, they overestimate how much work they need to do at the beginning to be like, oh, I need to get this thing going, right? So they think it's going to be a really small amount of work. In reality, you need to do a shit ton to then be able to potentially scale back, but also have the humility within yourself and allow your ego to go, if things are harder, I've got to go back into the trenches and do the sales calls in a creative industry, do the hand-to-hand combat strategies in DMs or cold outreach or etc. Right? Because I have kind of, for me, it's kind of two-phased. I'm looking for growth. I'm looking for long-term. I'm looking for reputational gains, right? But if I'm in a financial position or I'm in a cash flow position because either a mistake I've made or I took my eye off the ball or just things are harder, I got screwed over, projects didn't happen the way it did, etc., then I understand that I need to either leverage my reputation, A. B, I just need to do the work. I just need to do what I call the grunt work. Let's create an offer, let's create an ad, let's push, let's actually go and sell that ad to people hand to hand. Not put it on social and pray, not put it on social consistently and hope, right? But then also understand that there's going to be parts of your life, if you do that correctly and you manage your money correctly, that you can then have phases where actually you could be a bit more chill. You can have a bit more work-life balance if that matters to you.
When I'm putting a new project together, I know that is literally like my head is in that project until it's finished. Like there's nothing else I'm thinking about. And if it means that I'm getting into the flow of writing that project and it's 10 o'clock and that's my normal, like, okay, shut down, go to bed, then I will just carry on and get it done because I know that creative side of me is flowing and I just need to make it happen. And that's kind of when the magic's happening and I'm not going to interrupt that flow. But these are projects that, once they're created, yeah, okay, you're putting the 24/7 into it at the beginning and not really getting much back for it. But the long-term impact of that, like Drop a Dress Size, I wrote back in 2011, and we're still using it now. It's costing me nothing every time someone's signing up to it. It costs me nothing to do that, And again, I think where Girls Are Fit has always been quite unique is that there's been a few investments here and there, like the website, but then that investment was from what we won, so it wasn't like we were kind of trying to find money. And but everything has been created from scratch, and then built from there, and then it just gradually builds momentum. So all the effort that goes in at the beginning, you can't quantify that, like I can't quantify how many hours and how much money that, it's like when I go to the accountants and they go, well, how much? I'm like, I know, I just sat up all night and wrote it, but now I'm making this much from it, so does it matter? Because when you have a mindset of being creative and building your own business, you will do what it takes. Like I don't work 9 till 5 ever, like, but I don't want to either, like my day starts super early and it ends super late, and I have great things that I do and I love. There's some shitty bits along the way, but that's life. But I get to do the things that I love, and I get to spend the time with my family, which is super important. But when it comes to the actual marketing side of things, I think that I like to think that Girls Are Fit, the brand of Girls Are Fit, is very authentic. So everything that we put on our social media is what's happening in the here and the now, which is why with Drop Dress Size, like that has evolved to becoming an online program. So it's online. I could record myself delivering those notes and it would literally have none of my impact. But I feel like it loses that connection with the people that are actually doing it. And then when I deliver a workshop, I go very much on the conversations that have been happening in the week in the group. So actually, although the notes are the exact same, what they're getting is authentic to what is happening in the here and the now. And that again is something you're not going to get from AI, and it's not going to, you know. So I could, if I was to be like strict cutthroat business, go, I'll record myself, and then it means I'm giving even less time to it and making more money from it. But actually, the longevity of that is that, you know, like we have people come back and do Drop Dress Size and come back and do abs transformation and sign up to the subscription for abs transformation. And the reason for that is although they know it's the same program, they're getting something different each month based on the here and the now, what's happening right now. So in lockdown, what was happening right here, right now, and me having genuine conversations with them over what's going on in the sky right now, you know, rather than just a pre-recorded, delivered package that actually, dies out over time.
Yeah, and I think
There's no emotion there, you know.
I think it comes back to the authenticity of the brand, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing, and can you? This isn't to say that you shouldn't reuse older content. Like, I'm known for like my talks being reused and etc. and like leveraging it, but like for me, that gives me bandwidth to then create other content that's then in. Like, I'm not doing it as instead of. It's an and, right? So I look at it from a arbitrage of I can put out this number of content if I leverage AI. I can put out this number of content with or without AI. The amount of content I would put out without AI involved in one way or another, whether that's editing or helping script, etc., is less, and the quality is like worse in my view, right? So actually, for me specifically, especially the technical point of view, it allows me to speed up my workflow, allows me to create a better product and add more value in the time I have that I'm willing to work for, right? Which is still a lot of hours, etc. But it does kind of bring me on to one of the final questions I want to ask you, which was around like business burnout. How do you deal with it? Is it a thing that people deal with? If so, what are the signs? Is it just that potential moment of crash and burn, or is it the lead up?
You're talking to a Duracell bunny right now. So I literally crash and burn. Like, I like survive on not much sleep. Like literally, if I take last night as an example, my youngest one is asthmatic and she had a really bad night, and I slept in 4 different places in this house last night, and then I was still up at 5:30 this morning to teach my 6 o'clock class. And then it's like boom, 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 back to back, like boom, boom, boom. And then I finish at 9 o'clock tonight, and then I'll be prepping the lunch boxes for tomorrow. And then but I do all my class plans on a Sunday, so that kind of takes the pressure off. And then I genuinely look forward to teaching those sessions. Burnout is definitely a thing, but it's not just business burnout; it's life burnout. It's soul burnout. And, I think that comes down to also personality type and understanding yourself. And there's definitely been times where, the candle has burnt out. Should they say the flame or the flame?
You burnt the candles at both ends. Yeah.
That one. Yeah, that one. And again, I think that the ripe old age of 42, it's taken that long to go, you know what, I need to take a step back and I need to have a break. It's a Saturday afternoon. I need to not be doing my session plans. Actually, I had this exact thing happen actually on Saturday. And it'd been a heavy week. And on Friday, I'd started at 6 a.m., finished at 8 p.m., driven one of my daughters to Guildford. She had a competition, had to be there at 7:30 the next morning. We got back at 2 in the afternoon. I had all my session plans to do. I was going to go on live. Bring me back to the live thing in a minute, because you were asking about the marketing strategies. I was going to go on live. We had a new program starting on Monday, new like abs transformation. I was like, I have to get it done. I walked in the door and I literally was like, I'm so exhausted, I think I'm going to vomit. And I went and laid on my bed. I slept for 5 hours. thank God my husband was here, could take over the children, because they would have just run feral and wild if he wasn't here. Because and every time I'd like wake up and be like, what's going on? Oh, I need to get my work done. Oh, I'm just gonna lie here for 5 more minutes. And I was just exactly that, completely burnt out. But I mentally went, you know what? I have got some time tomorrow. I'm going to enjoy this time now to recoup. I just need to take some
Mm.
time. I need to readjust all my little boulders for next week for food and drinking enough water and getting to bed on time. And everything just kind of fell out of line a little bit last week, and being mindful of it. So being conscious that, okay, that happened. There were some things that I couldn't have prevented. Like I couldn't have gone 8 o'clock Friday night, you know what, I'm really tired. I don't want to drive to Guildford for an hour and a half, and I don't actually want to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning and curl hair for a cheer competition. But those things you have to do. But what can you do to recoup? Well, I can sleep for that 5 hours, and then I can get that work done a bit later, and I can make sure that I'm on it for this week for as much as I can to make sure that doesn't happen again this weekend. So it is absolutely thing, and you have to be mindful of, like I did refer to, a light at the end of the tunnel. Like I am fully prepared to do a 24-hour stint if it means I'm going to get a project and smash out what I call G mode, which is like genius mode, you know, when you creative juices are flowing and you are like in it, no one distract me, there's some good
Yeah.
content coming out here, it's coming, so I'm just going to keep going with it. But there has to be a light at the tunnel. That 24/7 can't continue as 24/7, you know, so the Duracell bunny has still got a rest at some point. So going back to answer the question of, is business burnout a thing? It absolutely is a thing, and you have to be aware of your key lifestyle principles, which is everything that we teach, you know, like drinking enough water, eating enough, working on your sleep cycles, stress management, all of those things. And sometimes that balance works really well, and then
Mm.
sometimes you have things that you can't control, and that burnout hits. And being aware, for me, the first thing will normally be that my memory starts to go a little bit, where I'm like, what day is it today? I spoke to that person, or somebody that I know, that like just mind fog more than anything. I mean, it could just be being perimenopausal, but but it is the mind fog, and that generally is like burnout mode is about to kick in. And you know, and I'll lose motivation as well with things and be like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? You know, and then I'll just go back to what I love. I'll just go, right, okay, take it back to basics. Take it back to basics. Get your workout done in the morning. Get in your ice bath. Take a breath. It's all going to be okay. Take it back
Mm.
to the simple things. And then that little bit of a buzz pumps up my battery. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
I think, I'm glad you brought up live, and we'll go on to it in a minute. But I think a lot of it is about understanding your own phases. Like personally, I work in phases, right? Like right now, I'm on a big push phase, right? Try a load of new stuff on marketing, trying a load of stuff on output, physically moving around a lot to do the podcast, right? Like launching the podcast, you know, very high intensity for the next like week and a half. But also, then there's going to be a week where it's not that. It's chill, because I'll have a bank of podcasts. I'll know the strategy. I'll know what works.
Yeah.
I will have done the marketing to say, hey, look, the podcast is back. And then I will, you know, look and see how we did, see what the numbers were, see what worked, see what didn't, and then readjust and so on and carry on. But I think there's so much of it. I mean, you know, just speaking in your world, I noticed that like 2 weeks ago, really good place working out pretty consistently. Got ill, knocked me for 6, okay?
Yeah.
And then I was like, shit, I haven't worked out this week, right? And like now there's no time for me to actually like schedule in a workout.
Yeah.
So my solution to that is candor. This week is prioritizing work. Okay, cool. Right, still going to focus on sleep, still going to focus on drinking, still going to focus on eating well. But I've already confirmed and pre-booked in my calendar, which is how I have to do it because of just how busy everyone is.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd recommend. If you want to get something done and it's priority, schedule it into your calendar and make them non-negotiables to move.
Absolutely. Like I say to my clients online that I'm working coaching, like literally those coaching sessions online, we are literally diary planning. We're like, okay, food for this week. When are you going to get your workouts in? Your workouts are scheduled like they're a meeting. You are going to make that meeting. Like that is as important as whatever that other thing is that you're going to do. And if it's written in my diary, then it's going to happen. You know, like the first thing you will drop is yourself when it comes to stress and managing business and managing life. Like the easiest thing to go, do you know what, I'll miss my workout and it means that I can then get that piece of work done, or I can get that child to whatever that they need. I don't, it's fine, I don't need to work out today, I'll just work out tomorrow. And that's where, you know, scheduling in with my clients, doing scheduled sessions with them, and then also, you know, early bird workouts, our 6 a.m. workouts, you're ahead of the game before all the shit hit the fan and becomes an excuse as to why you can't do it. So like at 6 a.m., my kids don't need me at 6 a.m. They're mostly still sleeping, sometimes not, but you know, that nothing is really needed at that time. I get it done, and then whatever shit hits the fan through the day, it's fine because I've still got myself in order at that point, you know, and it sets you up for the day to be able to do those things. But it's so easy for the domino effect, you know, like one thing, like you were ill and it knocked out, and then suddenly your time gets filled, and then you're like, it's like when you have a baby and you go, how did I fit a job in with this? Like, how do I do that? But you just figure it out, you find a way, you transform your excuses, you trust the process, and you make it work. Going back to the life thing, so you asked about the marketing strategies, like, you know, for me, the thing that works beyond everything else that is like an instant works is going on live every weekend. It's normally between 9:30 and 10:30. It's no longer than 10 minutes on our Instagram, and it goes onto our Facebook stories as well. And I literally just chat shit. I literally just go, hey guys, I hope you've had a good week. Or it's been a bit cold this week. Or da da da. We've just done small group PT, and we've got. I never ever. This is where I think I know some business strategies would advise you differently. I never ever script it, ever, because again, I feel like you lose that authenticity. Is that the right word? I feel like I lose that connection when I'm like reading something or like doing this, you know, rather than. And I said at the beginning of this podcast, like when you said, oh, have you read some of the questions, I was like, I just want to talk very openly and what the first thing is that comes into my head, because then you get the real person. And I feel like for us, our marketing strategy, yes, we do the emails, yes, we do the stories, the social media, we do the networking events, we get out there, we're here, there, everywhere, we're asking our clients to tag us on their social media, like all of that stuff is done. But the thing that makes a huge difference instantly, like literally people will watch that live, and then I'll see like 3 or 4 programs have just been bought on our website, and I'll be like, you know, we've got barefoot fitness next week, and we've got some taster sessions. And then last week I had so I've had a few people go back to work, I had a couple of people off ill, I was like, oh, I need to push this week, let's open it up to people being able to come for drop-ins. And I had like 4 people last week, and then 12 people on Monday, just from doing a 10-minute live, which wasn't on Saturday because I crashed and burnt, but I did do it on Sunday night, you know. So you just kind of adjust your sails, as they say.
I think that's about. I mean, you know, the business side of it would be like you're adding value, not asking for anything. Adding value, not asking for anything, etc., etc., etc. You're showing up in a consistent, predictable pattern, so that people know you're going to be there at whatever it is, etc. And I think that's a key. I mean, I think when it comes to content, or whether you're doing live, like some people really thrive on non-planned notes. Other people thrive with energy, right? Like whenever I guest on a podcast, you can ask me whatever you like. It's your show. You know your audience. You go. You take the conversation wherever you like. You're in control. The reason why I prep the show is because I feel like I can go into more depth with that research. Because before it was, I'm just going to show up. We're going to have a conversation. The shows were fine. It's not like I can't do that. But it's an excuse for me not to do more work. Right there. I want to actually, when I interview someone now, know every single nuanced detail about what they do and how they do it, and where the pressure points are, where the energy points are, where the you know, I've gone off a percentage of notes on my phone today, but actually I've also like thrown in a load of side questions just on listening to you. And I think you can have the best of both worlds if you prepare for the interview properly. In the same way, and this is where I would agree but also disagree with you with lives, you should have a rough plan of detailed notes, but also be willing to throw them out of the window if you have a tangent, a energy, whatever you want to call it, or you get a question in the chat, for example, that actually you can go in depth with. And because it's your energy and it's how you would then react. But it also shouldn't be an excuse to be like, I'm not going to do the research work.
Yeah, but I guess from my point of view, what I'm doing in a live, I already have in my head, I know what's happening this week, and those are the areas that I want to cover. So it's more of a mental bullet point than writing a script and
Yeah,
reading from a script. I think from your point of view, when like if I was interviewing somebody, I would absolutely have it like set out agenda, present, all of that jazz. But if I'm going in as the person that's being asked the questions, I know that someone's going to get the best of me if
yeah,
I just answer from a authentic, this is the first thing that comes into my head, rather than worrying about what my answers could be to something, you know.
yeah,
um
100%.
but that live that I do on a Saturday, so I have my like mental bullet points of things that are happening in the week ahead, and ultimately I just have a chat about what we have done and what's coming up, and message us if you want more details. And that's it. That's basically what every Saturday, that's what's said, unless I burn out and then it's on a Sunday. But it's over the weekend at some point, and then that instantly will draw people to, you know, whether it's drop dress size or abs
Mm.
transformation or barefoot fitness or small group PT. We've got a couple of spaces coming out. So, you know, and I'll just talk about it a little bit, but not in so much depth that it's a sales pitch, you know? Um,
I would say it's more your use of like a broadcast, right? Like
yeah.
the if I was going to give advice to it, if you want to justify the time, if you want to do that, you may not. Is add a Q&A element onto the end. If you have
Yeah,
people in
that's
the
a good
chat,
idea.
you know, literally just a couple of minutes, you know, let's say it's going to be 10 minutes long where you broadcast this is what's going on, this is what I've been up to, this is what I'm seeing trends wise, etc.,
Yeah.
news, etc., and then just have like a 5-10 minute afterwards and be like, look, I would love to answer some questions, etc., you know. And because it's always about when we're not in a position where we need to sell necessarily, either
Yeah.
because we've set up the business in such a way where actually we're fine, or we have a retainer, or we have a lot of projects, etc. Then you can
Hmm.
just focus on pure value-led content, and then adding value that can then be banked into the future. So then, when and if you do need something, you've then got more karma, you've got more value, however you want to articulate it, as a way to add to your audience, right? Because it's a given, everything is a give and take in life, right? And it's about, I guess, in some ways, understanding that when we're in a world of abundance, we should be giving a huge amount more than what we are expecting back. So then, when we're in a position where, you know, there's a cash flow challenge, etc., 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 let's say, then you can have more credibility, more likelihood, more ability to ask for things in that
Yeah.
respect.
I think for me, the live thing, my intention is always kind of to give people that connection, to make the people that follow us on our Facebook and our Instagram to see that we're real people behind the scenes, real
Yeah.
people living real lives, and kind of giving a little bit of an insight into that without being a complete storybook or a complete sales pitch. And that just makes me feel like I've kind of checked in with everyone, you know, and then they know we're here and these things are happening, and you know these things are coming up, and they can get in touch if they're interested. And also because Instagram stories is like a minute, so
Mm-hmm.
you're like cramming it in a little bit, but it does really make a difference to engagement and people communicating, and then that initiates conversation on our DMs as well. So for us, when you ask the question about what is a good, you know, marketing strategy that you have found works for you, that is definitely like my non-negotiable of the week. I will go live at least once over the weekend and just kind of give a bit of an insight into what's happened, what's coming up, ask us if you've got any questions about anything. And yeah, other than that, it's kind of all your, you know, general regular stuff, I think. But I think it's very much based on what industry you're in, what service it is that you're providing, you know, and everybody will kind of have their own kind of different angles to it based
Mm-hmm.
on what their experience is, and like you said, how long they've been in their business for, whether they're starting out or whether they're kind of well established. And so yeah.
But also, like, what do you enjoy, right? Like, our kind of energies are let's do a podcast, let's do an interview, let's do a live, let's do a video. But someone who maybe isn't this way or doesn't have this level of bubbly energy, etc., maybe
Yeah,
they're actually a really strong writer, and actually that should they focus on, you know. And I think that's the key. I think it's being in tune with what
that is the
works for
key. And
you.
I think whatever it is you decide, you've just got to be consistent with it. It's the consistency which is absolutely key. And like in abs transformation, that's why I bang on about all the time. Like once you've
Mm.
got your principles in place, once you know what works, you've just got to be consistent with it so that people understand you and understand your message, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. If you were going to wind the clock back, let's say 10 years, 15 years, and you could talk to your previous self, so the girl who was just coming up, just starting her business, what advice would you give to her now if they were just coming up? If someone's listening to this that are maybe coming up in your industry or more general, if you want to go more general.
I think less advice and more continue what you're doing, trust the process, it's going to be okay. I think that would be my main thing, because it wouldn't be to give advice to do anything differently because I don't have any regrets. I wouldn't be like, oh, make sure you do this because it will make, it's just literally go with your gut and trust the process.
I love that. And where can people find you, Alex, who want to connect with you, see what you're doing, look at classes, etc., etc.?
We are Girls Love Fit, so we are on the internet, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, Kids Love Fit for Children. Yeah, those are the places you'll find us.
Magic. Anything else you want to mention?
Just thank you for your time, thank you for your energy. I've enjoyed it.
If you took value from this episode, then make sure to be subscribed. Leave me what your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you ever so much for coming back and joining me, and I'll see you very, very soon.